The following podcast is a deep, shallow dive production.
And you're going to love it.
Okay, let's go.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Hope you guys are good. Happy Tuesday. Okay, I want to kind of do a little dovetail. I'm going to start using the word dovetail more. Dovetail and retard. I can't laugh too hard with this microphone because I know the sound gets distorted. But anyway, okay, let me just share this perspective and then we'll get back into things. You know, trust me, I go back and forth with myself a lot where, you know, sometimes I'm just like, dude, are you just trying to like make mountains out of molehills? And are you just trying to think that like, you know, honestly, everything's a conspiracy, everything has an ulterior motive, everything. And believe me, I do have those discussions a lot with myself. And, you know, quite frankly, it would be so much easier if I didn't even think about any of this stuff. I mean, I probably wouldn't have a podcast then, but let's say, you know, I was one of those people and, oh my God, I would honestly say a gigantic chunk of my friends still fall in this category where, you know, they're still posting, you know, what they had for dinner at XYZ restaurant on Instagram. And I'm just like, dude, like with everything going on in this world and everything that's happened over the past year, let alone the past 5 years, like nobody cares what you're eating at Mastro's or wherever. I hate to say that, but I guess the point I'm making is, man, I wish I could live in that world where I just didn't think about anything. I just, you know, thought none of this. I didn't care about any of this. I mean, quite frankly, it was probably the way I was prior to 2020 and prior to COVID happening. I mean, I think I was like this from 2016 to 2020, you know, when Trump did win. And obviously, I think politics started to kind of become more mainstream, but I didn't care about anything then either. But it was 2020. And honestly, it was just the way I saw the world and obviously for me, the United States and particularly Los Angeles, because I lived in Los Angeles at the time. You know, it's funny. I was thinking about this. You know, I don't live in LA anymore. I live down in Orange County and you know, I can tell you it's so much more mellow down here and it's so much more, you know, basically normal for lack of a better way of saying it. And I'm wondering if I had lived in Orange County from 2020 and not seen, you know, just the insanity that was Los Angeles, you know, maybe I wouldn't be so aware of kind of all these things that I'm now aware of. But I have to say, and I would really ask you to kind of look in the mirror and ask yourself, you know, did you think looking back, do you think looking back now with hindsight that what happened in 2020 was normal? I mean, think about how many businesses shut down, you know, all of your freedoms that were affected. Don't leave the house. Don't do this. Wear a mask. Be 6 feet apart. All of that stuff. Take that isolated 18 months or take that 2 years, let's say 2020 to 2022, because I really do think pretty much all of 2020 starting in March and then pretty much all of 2021, I think was hindered for lack of a better way of saying it. But think about those 2 years versus the rest of your life before and then even now, you know, like think about things now. Think about what things were like, you know, as recent as 2023 and 2024. I mean, 2024, I really didn't see any lingering effects of, you know, what took place in 20 to 2022 and 2023, you know, probably not much there as well. So, you know, I guess my point is that I just don't think what happened was normal. And so if it happened once, it can happen again. But they can't use that same playbook. They can't use a COVID or something along those lines. So they need something different. And what I think the different thing is going to be is I think there's going to be another war on terror. I think it's going to be another, like, what do you call it? Axis of evil, bad Islamic, Muslim jihadists. I think that's the play. I really do. I think that's the play. And I think it is going back to the playbook of the neocon, George W. Bush, Donald Rumsfeld, Dick Cheney, all that stuff. I really do. I think that's going to be the COVID play moving forward because, like I said, I don't think they can go back to, trying to get people to wear masks. There's a lot of stuff about bird flu right now. I don't know if you guys have seen this, but I think Gavin Newsom in California declared a bird flu emergency. And so you're seeing all these people talk about, oh, the mask mandate is going to come back. They're going to make you wear masks again because of bird flu, blah, blah, blah. I don't think so. I think all that's a distraction. I don't think people are willing to ever do that again. So that's played out. Or I should say, maybe that comes back in 20 more years, because what I think is going to be the play moving forward, like I said, is what was the play post 9/11 and all that. And that is, this war on terror thing. So anyway, because of that, I'm trying to figure out what are the things that could really substantiate that is going on. All right. Ooh, all right. There's a little, I guess, preface to everything. All right. Moving on. I do want to talk a few things about the Shamsa Al-Jabbar or Dejabor, whatever, the guy in New Orleans that was killed for what he did on New Year's Day. And I want to point out kind of what took place with him, kind of similar to what took place with the Livensburger guy that we talked about yesterday. This is so wild. So literally, the New York Post, the day, I think a day or two after they just released it, they basically, and if you see the video, you'll know what I'm talking about. It's like they pulled this girl off the street. She looks like she's dressed to go to Pilates. She's wearing her Lululemons, a baseball cap, and I'm not even kidding. Like literally, it looked like she's about to take a Pilates or a yoga class or a bar class. By the way, I've taken all three of those recently, and they kicked my ass. Those female-oriented classes, and I don't mean to sound sexist by saying that, they are harder than you think. They really are, man. Those things, like I took a bar class, and don't ask me why. I'll tell you that depending on if something plays out or not. But I took a bar class. Such a tangent right now. I took a bar class, and I'm not kidding. Dude, super hard. Really, really difficult. Those small little short movements are very difficult, man. And I realized I've got to some more work into my core. Okay, anyway, getting back on track here. So the New York Post releases a clip of this gal that looks like she's dressed to go to Pilates, and she's literally inside this suspected terrorist killer Shamsa Al-Jabbar's Airbnb apartment that he rented. And it's like she is going through a crime scene, and it is crazy the dialogue she gives, because it feels so staged, so planted, so ridiculous. I honestly can't even believe they think we're this stupid to fall for this stuff, but give this a listen. And again, I'm not even kidding. Picture like a mid-20s girl dressed in Pilates gear, basically taking you through the apartment of the person that, was just killed and is being called the terrorist and that just killed a bunch of innocent people. And this is literally his place, that next day.
We are here inside the New Orleans terrorist home. You can see that it's been clearly destroyed, the door at least, from the FBI raid yesterday, but...
Okay, so there's your first red flag. So literally, she's in the dude's apartment from the FBI raid yesterday. So the FBI raided it yesterday, and then she's who works for the New York Post or is reporting for the trash New York Post gets access to it the next day.
If we walk through the home, we see some signs of what he was up to. He had this work area here, lots of different chemicals splayed around, and different electronics. This is, again, a work setup.
So again, you expect us to believe that the FBI raided that place yesterday and then they just left a bunch of chemicals. They just left a bunch of chemicals out and about, and then they're giving you access to show the media and to take video. And there's like chemicals just laying around.
Left receipts, just very unkempt in here.
Sorry to keep interrupting, but she said he left receipts. Like, are you kidding me? You're telling me the FBI wouldn't have bagged all those receipts and, quite frankly, bagged everything at the crime scene and taken it to wherever to basically, investigate it all. Now, if you're looking at this video, and I think I'll end up posting this on my Instagram or on the Deep Shallow Dive Instagram. I mean, again, the apartment looks like it's like a museum. It's like they left everything intact.
If we go over here, actually, you can see the Department of Justice documents here, the search warrant, and the property that they recorded here, which seems to be a lot of chemicals. Again, just left in disarray.
Okay, I'm interrupting so you can try to visualize it. So now, literally on the nice marble counter, actually, it was a very nice marble counter. I like it. On the marble counter, you've got the search warrant and the other document laying there, kind of like a real estate flyer. Like when you go to an open house and you see Bernie Shagloaf, real estate agent, and their flyer. I'm not even kidding. This is hilarious, actually. All right, I won't interrupt the rest.
There's a bedroom back here, and what appears to be his collection of religious materials, his Qurans, an open Quran with a passage there, as well as even the Bible here, but mostly books on Islam, and his prayer rug just to the left of me here.
Okay, I lied. I'm sorry. Okay, so now picture literally like they've got an open Quran, and a Quran is like a Bible. So think about like the Islamic Bible. It's literally on this nice stand. It's open to a certain page or whatever. And again, this one, like I've said, unlike the Las Vegas Cybertruck one, I think that one is intended more to stoke war with China, whereas this one is intended more to stoke war with Iran, and it's also intended to, again, create this like battle against, Islamic fundamentalism and, ISIS, Al-Qaeda, whatever you want to call it, Tamada, Al-Qaeda, Al-Qaeda, like this is back. Like this narrative from the George W. Bush NeoCon days, they are regurgitating the war on terror. They are regurgitating all this stuff. So, okay, I can't promise I'm not going to interrupt again, but let's keep going.
And if we go back, there's another bedroom here. You can see he left all these belongings, contact lenses, personal belongings, his bathroom. This seems to be some sort of workspace, again, with other chemicals here. The light's still on. Some kind of station set up here. We're not really sure what that was for. In, what we can assume was also a bedroom. You can see clothes left here.
Okay, I'm surprised she didn't point this out, but when she said clothes left here, the camera goes directly to a keffiyeh. Now, if you don't know what a keffiyeh is, it's like the traditional Palestinian scarf. So it's like a black and white, almost like a houndstooth scarf. It's the one that literally got all the attention when college students this summer were wearing them and other people were wearing it. I'm actually surprised she didn't point it out, but I think that was on purpose, because if you look at the video, the way the camera just focuses in on the keffiyeh, I think it was a subtle way to point that out without mentioning it.
And just a sign that someone was here up until those last few moments when neighbors said he left just before the New Year's holiday, saying he was done with his lease, it was up, and he was on his way to New Orleans where he would live there. Didn't take any furniture because he said his new home would be furnished. That's all we know so far.
All right. Anyway, so that was the clip released by the New York Post. Now, again, what I was saying earlier, I want to elaborate a little bit more, and that is that I feel like this war against, Islam, Muslim, war on terror, reincarnating the George W. Bush neocon days, it's absolutely being driven by the right-wing Republican side of things. It really is, because I don't see any of this on the left-wing Democrat side. So these warmongers, these right-wing warmongers, and I'm talking about the nomination of Pete Hegseth for defense secretary, this Marco Rubio, senator from Florida for secretary of state, Lindsey Graham, all these guys, quite frankly, the guys that are the swamp on the Republican side, Mitch McConnell, all these guys, these terrible, terrible Republicans, these guys are the ones that are creating this narrative. So they are creating this scare tactic of, ISIS, Al-Qaeda, all that. It's 9/11 once again. And I will say this, if you had to say, okay, if 9/11 was a inside job, who was behind it? I mean, it was those neoconservative Republicans, George W. Bush, Donald Rumsfeld, Dick Cheney, Paul Wolfowitz, Condoleezza Rice, all those guys. Those guys were absolutely the masterminds of it. And again, I think that basically started the uniparty concept, because they handed it then off to Team Obama. And maybe they were handed the baton from the Clintons, who were friends with George H. Bush, Papa Bush. Seriously, I've talked about this before. I think it really all goes back to all that. George H.W. Bush, Papa Bush, dude was the kingpin of, the New World Order, the concept of globalists, the concept of the swamp. This is everything that supposedly Trump was fighting against. Now, the question is he still fighting against it, or has he somehow become part of it? I'm being serious. I'm being dead serious in that. The things that I'm seeing, they're just not lining up. And it's not just me, by the way. There's a lot of people not seeing it. And I'll tell you, there's a lot of people seeing it. I'm sorry. I'll tell you, the two people that I feel like are absolutely seeing it are two people that I really do think have been on point with so many things. Actually, four people. And that's Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, Professor Jeffrey Sachs, and Professor John Mearsheimer. Now, the first two, Tucker's not doing it openly. He's definitely a little strategic in how he's doing this, okay? Candace is doing it a little more openly. I absolutely have seen a rift between her and the MAGA and even Trump. She's not come out and said bad things about Trump, but that loyalty or that affinity to Trump, which was there, maybe even 6 months ago, it's definitely not there anymore with her. I absolutely see that. And with Tucker, I think his loyalty and affinity is still there, but he is smart because he's not burning that bridge necessarily, or not trying to scorched earth that. Instead, what he's doing is he's bringing on guests and letting them do it and letting them scorch earth it. And I'll give you more examples of those a little bit later. So anyway, all right, I want to finish on that as far as the New Orleans guy. And, I wanted to play that New York Post interview because it just made no sense. And then I'll tell you the thread that connects these two, and I'm not talking about the incidences, I'm talking about the way the media is trying to create the narratives, is that, like I said, you've got the right-wing New York Post spearheading the narrative creation of war on terror, terrorist attack with the guy in New Orleans. And then on the other side, in terms of Las Vegas, that one is getting, I mean, that's the one that is like the reverse Uno card, reverse psyop, definitely the mind fuck, because that one, again, for all intents purposes, it looks like they're back channeling that. And instead of the New York Post or Fox or News Nation leading that, they basically are using Sean Ryan, whom is a very, very big, popular, but again, right wing, I'd say Republican, conservative, that team podcast, And again, this does make sense because that's the administration that's coming in. These are the people that they need to win over, both internally among the Republican Party and then externally, meaning the supporters of the Republican Party. They really want to create this America is in danger narrative. I'm telling you, they do. And I'm going to play a bunch more things for you over the next week or so to just reinforce that point, and also talk about, articles that are coming out. I mean, this stuff is complicated, man. It's really complicated, and it's thought out on a level that, quite frankly, is hard to grasp. It really is. It's really hard to grasp. There's the funny expression of like 4-dimensional chess. This is probably like 8-dimensional chess. But I'll end today. I know yesterday's went a little bit longer, so I'll keep this one short. But I'll end today with, basically showing you one of the many news articles that are coming out. Now, this one was in the Atlantic. Now, this does throw off what I just said a little bit because the Atlantic is probably more left-leaning than it is right-leaning, but it is a good example of, again, what I think we're going to see a lot more of, and that is the concept of, the title of this one is The Crumbling Foundation of America's Military. The U.S. failed to produce weapons and ammunition fast enough to supply Ukraine. Could it equip its own armed forces in the event of a war? So that came out December 17th, actually, of 2024. And it basically talks about, can the U.S. defend itself? And I'm telling you, articles like that are the setup for, a month into the Trump administration, all of a sudden Congress saying, hey, we need $1 trillion for defense spending because look what happened. Look what happened in New Orleans, terrorist attack. Look what happened in Las Vegas. Oh, that, if they don't call that a terrorist attack, whatever, somehow looping that in. And then, like I said, the proof is going to be in the pudding with everything that I'm thinking in terms of, will additional tragedies happen? And if additional tragedies continue to happen, and it's kind of like what Ian Carroll said yesterday.
And if any of it points to war with Iran or China or Russia, even if it seems credible, it's fucking not. Doesn't matter. We're not going to war. Fuck that shit.
Bro does drop those F-bombs. But again, that is where the rubber will meet the road, okay? So here's what I will task you guys with, and that is pay attention over the next 30, 60, 90 days, and let's see, is it going to be one tragedy after another and one event after another? And if it is, Are those events being linked to, for example, the southern border? Are they going to, have, next thing you know, it's going to be some, illegal immigrant killing a bunch of people, and then they'll link that to the southern border. So they'll be like, see what's happened over the past 4 years of the Biden-Harris administration. The border is weak. There's all these illegal immigrants. We need to. Again, it's not about not fixing the border. You guys know I'm a supporter of the border needing to be fixed. What I'm saying is all of this stuff happening in order to then allocate money to the military-industrial complex, allocate money to, again, more government spending. It truly is following the money. I mean, I think that fundamentally, if we keep the concept of following the money always first and foremost, I mean, literally always first and foremost, anything that involves money, that's what you have to start, critically looking at and critically thinking about. All right. Anyway, I know yesterday and today's podcast were a little bit on the heavy side and, maybe even a little bit confusing. So I try to lay it out as clearly as possible, but, just keep an eye out on things. I don't think things are going to get smoother. I think they're going to get bumpier. And again, I'm always open to feedback. I'm always open to questions. I'm always open to, hearing your thoughts on all this. Please always keep those coming. All right, let's have a little fun to end this one out. And I don't know when this guy came out with this viral clip, but it looks like it's an Indian fish market guy, and I don't even know where he lives here. Let me see if I can find out where he lives. All right, Muhammad Shahid Nazir. Oh, that's funny. Ends up being a Punjabi Indian, also known as 1 Pound Fish Man. Actually, he's a Pakistani trader and singer-songwriter who found internet fame in 2012. Oh my God, this is from 2012 with his viral video, 1 Pound Fish. He subsequently appeared on The X Factor, and it led to a record deal with Warner Music. How funny is that? Dude got a record deal off this. But you know what? Once I play you this banger, you'll know why he got a record deal. All right, call a spade a spade. Enjoy 1 Pound Fish. And again, picture this guy at like Pike's Fish Market in Seattle, but in Pakistan. I'm sorry, he's Pakistani, but he sang this in London at a market where he's selling fish, and this is how he attracted customers to his booth.
Come on, ladies, 1 pound fish. Come on, ladies, 1 pound fish. Have a look, 1 pound fish. Have a look, 1 pound fish. Very, very good, 1 pound fish. Very, very cheap, 1 pound fish. 6 or 5 pound, 1 pound each. 6 or 5 pound, 1 pound each. Come on, ladies, 1 pound fish. Fish today, 1 pound. Fish today, 1 pound. Fish today, 1 pound. Fish today, 1 pound.
Have a look, 1 pound fish. Have a look, 1 pound fish. Dude, that was a banger.
That was a great way to end it.
This episode was brought to you by the new book, Deep Shallow Dive Into You, available now on Amazon and Barnes & Noble in hardcover and paperback. Don't forget to sign up for our new mailing list on our website at deepshallowdive.com.